That's my impression. All Amiswal should come together with him. So backing up, Lamed Dalet Amud Beis. And this is a very interesting sugya, like it has really Kesuvos, and it's going into because of that the Mishnah that said that even if the woman that was ma'anes or mafata was a chayvi krisos, still there's a knas. And the Gemara's knas started off because there's a Mishnah that says chayv malchus, chayvi krisos is chayv malchus, and then lopen mishalim, and then we have two terutzim that it's possible the case only knas is only when there's no malchus, or malchus is only when there's no knas, depending on what do you do by local mishalim. The Ula holds that you pay, and the Rechen holds that you only get malchus. So based on whatever you hold over there, you have to say the Mishnah is talking. One Mishnah is talking about where there's not the other. You can't have both of them together. So which one do you have? And Rish Lakish said that he'd rather say the Mishnah is going according to a mayor that holds local mishalim, and that's more or less what we're holding now. And now the Gemara is asking. Of course, it would have been better to say the Mishnah is going according to Rabbana. We don't pass like a mayor. So that's where the Gemara starts today. We're about, what is it, about 15 lines from the bottom. Bishloma, Rabbi Yochanan, Lama Rish Lakish, the Kamukum Luk Rabbana. We understand why Rabbi Yochanan didn't want to say Rish Lakish's pshat, that both are going according to Rabbi Mishalim, by Rabbanan, then Rabbi Meir. Ela Rish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan. Why would Rish Lakish rather say that it's talking about that Rabbi Meir is the author, Lokum Mishalim? Why not say Rabbi Yochanan's pshat? It seems to be a simple that ain't Lokum Mishalim, you can't have both of them. And the Mishnah that says by his knas is a case where there's no malchus, which because he holds that if there's a local mishalim, what do you do? Only malchus. That was the Gemara brought a source for that because they mishaso, and then it says the din of malchus. So if you want to say that our Mishnah is a case of no malchus, it's very simple because no asrube, that there was no asra. One is in order to get malchus, it's only they warned him. If they didn't warn him, we don't know that he's amazed, and you can't give him malchus. So that would be a simple answer. Why doesn't Rish Lakish say a simple answer? It goes according to Rabbanan. You can't have both of them. You can't have a case of local mishalim. It has to be only one. And the case that it's going to be mishalim, when he's going to pay the knas is because there's no malchus. Then it's very easy to get a case of no malchus. They didn't warn him. Rabbi Rish Lakish will tell you, I don't want to say like Rabbi Yochanan, that even if they would not give him asura, and he's not going to actually get malchus, but since it's a crime punishable by malchus, if it would have been with Edom and Asra, so that kind of a avera is also there's no payment. This is going to be today's sugya. Open up a new sugya of what's called the sugya is going to call it right away chayve misa shogin. We'll see that in one more line. Chayve misa shogin, chayve malchus shogin means. Don't we spoke about kamali b'drabim that if somebody's actually getting a bigger punishment, so he only gets the big punishment and he doesn't get the small punishment. That's called kamali b'drabim. Today's if he's not getting it, he was actually a shogeg, and he's not getting the actual punishment, but call it a capital crime. There's a capital punishment, there's a capital crime. Capital crime means he did the crime. It's a capital that deserves such a kind of a punishment, but he happened to be a shogeg, he was unintentional, whatever the case would be, a technicality, that they're actually not going to actually kill him, or not actually give him malchus. So that's going to what the sugya is opening up now, that it could be that the Torah of Kamali B'Dravim is not only when they actually give him the punishment and he's going to get killed or malchus, but since it's such a kind of a crime, it's a capital crime, it's a corporal crime that he deserves to have malchus, even if he's not going to actually get malchus because he was a shogeg, but since it's such a terrible crime, that's enough to also pater him from the smaller owners. And that's what the Gemara opens up. And first the Gemara says the reason why Rish Lakish have said, like Rabbi Yochanan, that lo asru beit, the case where he's going to be chayiv malchus, the case where he's going to be chayiv malchus, Rish Lakish can't hold that can't say that, because he holds that if he wouldn't actually have been warned, then he's not going to actually get malchus also to be pater. So that's why he had to say he doesn't see a pshat in our Mishnah going to our mayor to Mishalim. Rish Lakish will tell you, since what they would have warned him, he would have been pater from the payment because in local Mishalim, if he didn't get asra and they're not going to give him malchus, he's also pater because of this new concept called chayv malchus shogigin. And the Gemara thinks that they're consistent with their reasoning that they say this machlokus in a different place. When Eretz Yisrael to Babel, Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish Yisrael and Avdimi was one of those who traveled back and forth to bring the news of the Rabbanan in Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, and vice versa. So he said in the name of the Rechon Shlokish, this issue, Chayvim Misa Shogin, Chayvim Malkin, the Davar that is something else. There's person did something which is a capital crime, okay, or he did a corporal crime. He did a very would be Chayv Malkus if he did it b'mezid, but did it b'shogeg. And one of these two things, a davar achad. Davar achad means he did something else also, which means that was the monetary issue that he got himself involved in, either a monetary payment, monetary penalty, whatever we're going to talk about. So if he did something Chayiv Misa and also something which is Chayiv Mammon, or he did something which is Chayiv Malkus and Chayiv Mammon, so Rabbi Yochanan says if it was Shogeg, if he only did it b'Shogeg, he's not actually going to get punished. He's not actually going to get put to death. He's not actually going to get Malkus. So then he's Chayiv to pay the money. It's only if he actually gets the capital punishment, the corporal punishment. But if he doesn't get the punishment because he was a shogeg, so then there's no P'tor Kam Levi D'Rabbanan. Maybe that's what we would have thought. Rish Lakish says that even if he's not going to get the punishment because he was a shogeg, since it's a capital crime, it's a corporal crime, so therefore he's also parted from the small punishment of the money, and therefore that makes sense. Let's shit tasayu that Rabbi Yochanan says that our Mishnah Ketovi talking about where they will Hasru. So there's no malchus, so therefore there's going to payment. Rish Lakish could have said because he also even if he'd be no Hasru, he also would have been pater. Rabbi Yochanan Machayev da Isrubei, Rish Lakish Shama pater. And it says it's chayiv because the Mai said they didn't warn him, he's not going to get the punishments, no reason to pay him the money. But Shlokish says if they would have warned him, he would have been pater, even if they didn't also he's pater because it's such a kind of a crime. The Gemara Zakasha, now we open up the sugya. This is the sugya called chayiv misa shogin Peturim. Do you say that or not? Do you say that if they did a crime, which is chayiv misa, but he did it b'shogin, so he's not chayiv misa, do you say there's pater on the money or not? So we open up the sugya, Eisver Shlokish Rabbi Yochanan. This is the source where we learn out the P'tor of Kamlei B'Drabim. It says that when a man pushed a woman over there, they were fighting, and he pushed a woman by mistake, and on purpose, I guess. Not that he wanted to kill the woman, he wanted to kill the man. But this Gemara is going to be going that this Rav and Larak is a chayv. He wanted to kill one person, he killed somebody else. He's chayv misa also. And it says if the woman didn't die, so then he has to pay the money for the vlad, for the fetus. And the drush over there is, but if there wasn't a son, if the woman did die, so then there's no payment because Kamei B'Drabim. This is the source where we learn out the halacha of Kamei B'Drabim, that if there's going to be a punishment of death, so then there's no payment. And the Gemara is asking, what does it say? That if there's no son, if no tragedy happened, the woman didn't die, so then he has to pay. But as the son, and not my love of son, which doesn't mean actually if it happened or not, which means that if it happened, it happened. If the woman died, and if the woman died, then we don't care how we did it. The shogeg of amazing. That's what the Gemara is asking. Which Lakish is saying. It just says that the difference is if there was not son, if the woman died or not, and it doesn't make a difference if he was. Means do you look at the punishment of the man who did it, or you look at the result that she died? If you say son, it means that the woman actually died or not. If she died, so then there's no payment, even if there was no hasra, even if the man was not warned. You just want to know if the woman died. If the woman died, it means it was a capital crime, even if there's no punishment because it was b'shogeg, and it says that there's no money payment, so it's a right to Rish Lakish. The Gemara says no, not necessarily din or son. It means the din of killing somebody. It means if the person is going to be punished because he did b'mezid because it's wrong. But if he would have done it b'shogeg, then a Berchana says paying the money. The same thing that the Gemara took initially that it must have meant Ason Mamish, and the Gemara says no, Kamidin Ason. The Ikadami is the same thing that's flipped over. Ikadami others have it the other way. Rabbi Yochanan is the one who took the initiative to ask the kasha because it says Lo Yason Anoshi Anesh My Love Din Ason Lo Ason Mamish. Rabbi Yochanan thought that the pasuk means if the man is going to be punished because of the tragedy that happened. So that means only if there was a surah. But if it was a shogeg, there's no P'tor of Kamei B'Drabim. And the Lakish answers no. You can say it's talking about Asan Mamish not only if the woman died, then no matter what, if the man was amazed or not, there's going to be a P'tor Kamei B'Drabim because it's a capital crime, even though it wasn't a capital punishment. So we have this machlok, and it seems to be the way the Gemara says now. This machlok shlokshon of Yochanan. If somebody did a capital crime, but he didn't get a punishment because he was only a shogeg, this is the P'tor Kamei B'Drabim. But Rabbi says you can't say it's machlokis because everybody holds of this P'tor, even. How are we going to say? Even Rabbi Yochanan. You're saying Rabbi Yochanan holds that if he doesn't get punished, so then he does have to pay? Can't be. Everybody agrees to this. Halacha chayv mis shogin turin. Could anybody hold like that? Means argue on this halacha. They're going to bring down now. It's a brisa The Chizkiah said over a brisa, so it's going to be a brisa now. And they want to say that Rabbi Yochanan argues on that. The Tana of Chizkiah said that the Risa Hashem will come later, the Rabbi, even if the person is not going to get punished, means a person capital crime, even though he's not going to be because he was a shogeg. There's a p'tov come later, the Rabbi. Tell him we still has machlokes. Only Rishlakish like that. This is now. This is going to be the formula. Somebody who did something with Chayv Shogeg actually going to be Chayv Misa. Also, he's saying the monetary payment is a total company with Rabbi, even if he doesn't actually get punished. And now that was we said that was only Yesh Lakish. Now we're saying Rebbe also be split because it's a price, and we're going to bring it Russia. And everybody holds it. What does Chizkiah's Brisa say? Over there, at the end of Parshas Emor, we looked up it the other day. Over there, by the Kalel over there, that's the case where somebody cursed the name of Hashem and he was put to death. So over there it says all the lachas about damaging and killing, who's Chayv Misa. I think that's where it is, I think. So it says in the same pasuk it says, when somebody kills an animal, says to pay for it. If he kills a man, he's put to death. There's a what do you call that? The pasuk compares it. It's in the same pasuk. It's a hekesh. The pasuk compares the two of them. In the same pasuk, it says someone kills an animal, someone kills a person. Now, of course, they're not the same. Someone who kills an animal pays. Someone kills a person is put to death. But the Gemara is going to learn something about the din of kamlei b'dirabim. Once we know that when a person kills and he's put to death, so then there's no ptor, there's no chiyuv to pay any monetary debt that he incurred during that act. And makah behema means that he pays because he killed an animal, he has to pay for it. And there's going to be a hekesh to compare the act kills an animal and he's putter when he kills a person. It means he's chayv misa for killing the person, and any kind of monetary damage that he incurred during that act, he's going to be putter for. And there's a hekesh over here. Moment. By animal, when someone kills an animal, he's chayv in all cases. Over there, says he kills an animal, chayv to pay. He's chayv to pay no matter what. Even if you're damaged by mistake, also you have to pay. There's no excuse. I didn't mean it. You have to pay. If you're damaged, you have to pay. There's no difference if he was unintentional or intentional. If he intended, he didn't intend. Oh, I said the same thing over again. Shogeg amazing. He didn't know. Didn't know the law. Or there he did it on the something equated to Maka Adam. Over there, Maka Adam is Chayv Misa. And we're going to say that it's putter from the monetary payment that he incurred during the act of killing somebody because of Kamli B'dirabim Minei. And the Rosh is going to say there's no difference if he's actually going to be put to death or not. Of course, there's a difference killing if he's going to be put to death or not. If he was a shogeg or mezid, of course, it's only put to death if it was intentional, and also shogeg about the all these are, but there are differences by Golos. But the issue, the fact that that when he does crime, when he kills someone, that he's putter for the money, the monetary payment that he'd have to do because he damaged. There's a p'tor kamli b'drabim. No matter what kind of way he killed the man. I mean, the same pasuk says when you kill an animal, you have to pay, and of course the board. So too, and the pasuk says that when killing a man, that he's chayv misa and he's putter from paying. So he's also across the board. Even though sometimes when he killed the man in a way that he's not going to be chayv misa if he did it by the shogeg or shloba miskaven, he's not going to be chayv misa for killing Torah that he killed. Maybe the rabbi this is a drash. But in the drash that is killing an animal to killing a person, not as far as that obligation. Of course, this one pays money, this one is chayv misa. But on the contrary, this one pays money and this one gets misa and doesn't pay money. So when they're not paying money, they're paying money for when he damaged an animal and they're not paying money when he killed a man, and not paying money for means he's of course he doesn't pay money for killing the man, but the question is that he also was mazik, he also damaged while he was killing the man, and is a ptor that he doesn't have to pay for that because come b'dirabim. So the point is to say that he's not going to pay the money even if he only killed the shogeg, and that's mamash about that chayvim misa shogeg b'tur if he capital crime, even though there's not going to be any capital punishment. He somebody by mistake and he's maybe put to death because he did by mistake, but the ptor he gets on the money is regardless. So we found out that this halacha that we thought is a broken Lakish is not a machlokes because the Bechizkiah said it. So the Gemara gives in that everybody agrees to that, fine tune it a little bit. And that was now Elikias and Ravin. Very often you have Rav Dimi and Ravin, that both of them, they seem to be chavrusis, so they were contemporary, they were definitely contemporaries and colleagues, but sometimes when Rav Dimi came back from Eretz Yisrael and Ravin came back to Yisrael, they had a little bit once, how they say the machlokes. The Gemara of course quoted Rav Dimi quoted it that they're arguing, Rish Lakish and Avirch are arguing about both these things, Chayvim Misa Shogigin and Malkis Shogigin. And the Gemara said it can't be because Chayvim Misa Shogigin, everybody holds that this Pater Tanakh Bechizkiah said so. So I'm going to edit it and take Ravin's version. That Chayvim Misa Shogigin, everybody agrees to this point. If he killed by mistake, then he's Pater for the money, even if he's not going to get killed since he only killed by mistake. Everyone agrees to that. Before we thought this was also a machlokes. Now we're saying no. This part everybody agrees to. Chayvim Misa Shogigin, everybody holds Pater. The case is the machlokes. Completely b'chavim malchus shogigin. That he did an act which makes him chayiv malchus, but he did it only b'shog. And davar means the money. He incurred money penalty during this time. So then that's the machlokes. Before we thought that both of these cases are machlokes. Now we're saying no. Everybody agrees to the first halacha that it's going to be pater. Rebbe also agrees, but Rebbe is going to say that's only by chayim misa shogigin that he did capital crime by mistake. So then he's pater for the money. But if he did a corporal crime, if he did a crime that's chayiv malchus, and Shogeg says he's not going to be chayiv malchus, you say for them also that he's pater. If he would have been chayiv malchus mamish, he did it b'meiz, he did intentional, and he's chayiv malchus, so then that's the din of le'em mishalim. But if he did it, it's not called kamle b'drabim, it's called Mishalim gets different relation with Chayvi Krisos. How does he pay the penalty? Because the case was he didn't get Asra for the Aveira, so of having relation with Chayvi Krisos, not Chayvi Malchus, therefore he has to pay. And Rish Lakish says no, even if he didn't get Chayvi Malchus, Shogin is also Pturin. Chayvi Malchus Lois Kish. Rish Lakish Amapote, but Ferish Shubsator, Chayvi Malchus and Chayvi Mises. That Rebbe knows that the Torah we just said, what was the din of Tanakh Bechizkiah? This pasuk, that it compared a makab adam to a makab behema. Makab behema was always chayv to pay. Makab adam was always part to pay, even if he was a shov. So that's talking about makab adam. You must is talking about that he killed. He killed. Malchus. It was a chayv misas, but Malchus is compared that is always going to be pater. So since the whole source is only talking about misa, so this why I say chayv misa shogin b'turin. Malchus is not pater, and Malchus shogin is also going to be pater, and therefore he couldn't say the Amish is talking about without Malchus, because even without Malchus, Lois Rubei still be pater from the money. That's why I have to say because according to Rameir that says local mishalim. And now the Gemara goes on to find out what's Rish Lakish's Russia. Rebbe Yochanan makes sense that it only talks about Chayvim, he says, about Chayvim Malchus, let us listen to him. Why? Because Chayvim says, it's some explicit, of course, it's not going to be pshat, it's going to be a drash, but there's explicit drash to say that Chayvim Malchus is the same thing, that Chayvim Malchus Shogin is also going to be pater. And that's what the Gemara is going to be on the lookout now. Where do you have that drasha? Heichen Ribs. Heichen Ribs, the Torah include that a capital, I call it a corporal crime, is also going to be pater for the damages that he incurred during the same act. Russia. This exact Russia, Asher Russia Lamus, and in Ben Akosa Russia, it says that the word Russia by Chayve Mis. And it says the pasuk Russia by capital crimes and corporal crimes, and that's enough to make the link. Once you have the link, the same way we know that by Chayve Mis Shogigin, but also Chayve Malchus Shogin, but Rabbi Amar Asya Maka Maka. So Rabbi says now there's no Gzer Shava between us. He doesn't seem to say the Gzer Shava between Malchus and Misa. He says there's the same way that you learned out this pasuk of Maka Nefesh B'hem Maka Adam Yum, that just like him, and the Maka over there meant killing, that the Chayvim Misa is always going to be Potter, even Chayvim Misa Shogin. He has another place that's also going to compare Chayvim Malchus also to Maka. They're just like him, he's always Chayim. So Chayvim Malchus is always going to be Potter, even though he's not Chayvim Malchus. So where do you have that Rasha? Hey, there's a word Maka. So the more it first says the word Asya Maka Maka. Which Maka? Hey Maka. Where is the word Maka? Where is this Maka by Chayvim Malchus that's going to be compared to a Maka that all Chayvim Malchus is going to be Potter if he is not actually Chayvim Malchus because he was a Shogeg. The whole time. Word Maka Adam Yumas is not talking about Chayvim Malchus. Must means if somebody kills a man, he's Chayvim Misa. That means that Maka Adam is a case. That's the case of Misa. That's the case of the capital punishment, capital crime, not a corporal. That's talking about that's the case of where he was killed. So nothing to do with Chayvim Malchus. So where's your pasuk of Maka? There's no such pasuk of Maka. Elahai Maka. Then the following pasuk: Maka nefesh be'em b'yishal mena nefesh tachas nefesh v'samach lei v'yishkid yitin mumba v'isok kasher v'azor kenya. The same parasha over there. It talks about this halacha about the damages and it kills, or if he damages a person. It says there that if a person kills an animal, he has to pay for it. Nefesh tachas nefesh. It doesn't mean, of course, you don't kill a person. It just means you pay the value of how much the animal was worth, the live animal was worth. And then it says, but a man, kiten mumbami. So here's not talking about killing somebody. Here it says a man that he blemishes his fellow. Yes, although we also think he's not Chayim Malchus. When somebody blemishes somebody, he has to pay for the blemish. He has to pay for the damages that he did. But we'll hold on to that. That kasha the Gemara is going to take care of right away. But the pasuk, he found the case here that there's a comparison between the din of killing of damaging an animal, killing an animal, and a chayiv malchus. I'm saying chayiv malchus because that's what the Gemara seems to say, even though the pasuk doesn't say that. We'll see that in a minute. But here, if the Gemara is happy with that, there's a comparison to say that just like chayiv, when you kill an animal, you're chayiv to pay across the board. So also some who's Chayv Malchus is going to be paying across the board, even if it's a shogeg. That's going to be Rish Lakish's drasha. But first, the Gemara says it doesn't say the word Maka. You said Maka Maka. Where did Rabbi say that? Asya Maka Maka. There's a Gzer Shava of Maka Maka. This pasuk that we found say Maka. It does say Nefesh Behema, but Ishki Yitain Mumba Miso Kasher Aso Kenya Sabot. There's no word Maka over here. So Haila Maka. It doesn't say the word Maka. So what do you mean to say, Rabbi? I didn't mean Maka Maka. I meant Hakka, which means not the word Hakka, but that's the issue of hitting. It's true, it doesn't say the word Maka. I didn't mean that. But I meant that the pasuk compares the issue about killing an animal and the issue about a Chayvim Malchus, which he damaged somebody. So it doesn't say the word. I didn't mean that. I meant that he kind of hitting. It doesn't striking. It doesn't have to say the word Maka. But the Gemara says, okay, so we got the drasha, but it doesn't make sense because it doesn't say anything here about Malchus. You didn't give me a pasuk about Malchus. What are we looking for? We're looking for a drasha that a Chayvim Malchus Shogin Petuvin. You want to tell me that somebody did something which is a corpse that is going to be pater from the money, even if he did it unintentionally. He's not actually going to get Malchus, he's still going to be pater from the payment. But you didn't give me such a case because even though, the word market, that's fine, but it doesn't say anything about Malchus over here. Here the case is if somebody damages somebody has to pay for it. So Malchus, that's what the words mean. That when this pasuk is still damaging a fellow man, and the din of Chol B'Chaver, he has to pay. He doesn't get Malchus. So the Gemara says, I can't explain it. Sometimes by hitting somebody, one does get Malchus. It's true. When somebody hits somebody, he does get Malchus. He holds that if he would have damaged him less than the worth of a pruta, it's not considered valuable money. So then he doesn't pay, and then he gets Malchus. It's a fascinating thing. If somebody hits somebody, a damage which is less than Shavar Pruti, it's high Malchus. It's fascinating to see that's just the point about Musa over here, that to see the severity of what it is to hit somebody. If he hit him a Shavar Pruti, then he also should be Malchus, but he's high money. Everybody holds Lokam Shalim and the punishment. But if he hit him less than a shekel by money, and he's going to be chayv malchus.
Did you mute yourself?
Oh, I didn't hear you. Okay, I'm sorry, we got cut. Okay, we should be
We're back on, okay? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, good.
okay. So what was the over here? We're looking for a shlokish that says that Chavya Malchus Shogim Beturin, that even if he's not going to get Malchus, he's actually going to get Malchus. But he's also part of the Tashlumen. And the drush we had only was by Chavya Mises, that was Bethan Bechizkia, that was the pasuk of Maka Nevesh Vemish Lamen Maka Adam you must. But Yochanan says it only is talking about capital punishment, capital, but you don't say anything about the Shlokish as Malchus also. Why? I said because between Nis and Malchus, which was Russia, and like and Rabbi says you don't need that. There's a pasuk after Gemara finishes explaining it. And that's talking about that someone punishing a person that he is punished. Usually, he's punished with pain. If he blemished somebody less than a shavar pruta, less than a value of money, so then he gets malchus, and that is going to be the drug that he's always going to have the come even if he's not actually gonna because it was a show gig. Also, he is still going to get the Torah Kamli B'Drabi. He's saying that case is because he didn't damage him with the Shavar Pruta. The reason why he gets malchus and he doesn't get a payment, he doesn't have to pay is because he didn't do anything payable, because it was less than a Shavar Pruta. So where's your drush about Kamli B'Drabi? That while he hit it, hit him left pruta. But he also was less than a shavar pruta, but he so here he's chayv malchus because he damaged him less than a shavar pruta, and also at the same time he could, and chayv, if he would have done it in, so then, and he had asra, he was told, he was warned, so then he'd only get malchus, then he wouldn't have to pay for the garment because ein lokum mishalim. But here he did it b'shogeg, he did it unintentionally. That's the drasha that he did it b'shogeg, and therefore he's not going to get malchus. Do you say also that he should be potter from paying? So Rish Lakish will say that this is going to be the drasha that he's potter from paying also. So came out, the drasha comes out. Everybody agrees that chayvim shogeg b'turin. If somebody did a capital crime, even though he's not going to punishment because he didn't have the asra, still everybody agrees to that. That was the does that apply also to chayvim malchus shogeg? If somebody did a corporal crime, a crime which would be chayv malchus if he did it b'mezid, but he did it b'shogeg, and now he also at the same time he incurred a monetary payment. So the Shlakish holds that he's potter on that also, and therefore he couldn't learn our Mishnah goes according to Rabbanan that says that he's chayv to pay knas by chayv krisus because since it is sechi of malchus, even if he's not chayv malchus because they didn't warn him, also he'd be potter from the. Yes, says going to Rabbi Mishalim. Real says that the Mishnah could go even according to Rabbanan because Chayvim Al Kishog again Chayavim that if he did a Chayvi Krisis, this relation that he had with this woman, which is a Chayvi Krisis, he did it b'shogeg or lo asrube, and therefore he's not Chayiv Kares. It's not Chayiv Malchus. Therefore, the knas. So that's the cloak is about chayim. He did with the money which Lakish chayim. Next line. Amalei Rav Chia leRabba. Ulatana devei dama maka adam maka imayde b'chol kesir. But like a dilma b'Shabbos the behemoth gufay gal fluge. We're going back to the Russia of Chizkiah. Tana Chizkiah said chayim misa shogim. The two in the Russia was because it compared maka nefesh behema or maka adam. Maka nefesh behema was chayv to pay in all cases. Someone it kills an animal, you have to pay, and it compares that to the but he killed, he's part of the payment of any kind of damages he did. And over there, across the board, even if he's Misa, whatever case it was a shogeg, lo muskavin, also he's going to still have the Torah of Kamle, drasha. But he's asking on the essence, on the beginning of the drasha, you're taking it for granted that Maka Behema is high across the board. If you if it's a shogeg, a mezid, miskaven, ain't miskaven, you're chayiv paying money if you killed an animal. I mean that it was in the weekday. He didn't do it, we understood, because he's chayiv misa, because he killed a man. And maka behema, to kill an animal, chayiv misa. But who said there's a case of killing of it's also chayiv misa, because he did it on Shabbos, not because of killing an animal, not the severity of killing an animal that is chayiv misa, not chayiv misa for killing an animal, but on Shabbos, there is self-killing. That's shochet. So how do you know? Who says it's talking about during the week? You're not going to say that sometimes he's chayv, sometimes he's potter. He's saying that it's chayv all across the board. So maybe it's talking like he did it on Shabbos. Even by animal also, he's not always going to be chayv the money. And even though it's a comparison of a makah nefesh adam, but they don't say that it's that there's if it was shogeg or mezid, maybe the whole thing that it says by also is talking about a difference if it was mezid or shogeg. Maybe he's not the makfumli mezid. He's actually going to be punished. And the case of this, that's when he pays them. Adam also, but maybe the loss of Russia is questionable. Mar says no sakit daitos. That can tichsiv umak behem yisham. Killing a person. Echidav lo asrubei. Ma yumas. If there was no asra. That the case of pasuk is not talking about understanding he's only chayiv for the killing the animal. That can't be because the pasuk is talking about amazing. It says that Maka nefesh and Maka dam amazing. Echidami. Either last year. No asra so for killing the issue, but it was amazing. The Shabbos Maka Yishalmena. If it was on Shabbos, so how come he has to pay for the animal? If it was b'meg misa, so this is only b'drabim minay. If it was a mechol, so unless we're talking about that it was on a weekday and there was no issue of chol Shabbos. So therefore we said it's talking about on the weekday and by animal he has to across the board, shogeg meis. The comparison to Makkah Adam was going to be that even if it was a shogeg, and that was the shot of the Tanna the body agrees to, even miss a shogeg and peturim. Which yesterday we're going to get to this Gemara eventually. No, it really is like that over here at New Gemara, which goes back to Rabbi Knas. I didn't get this. I didn't have time to prepare this part. We'll try to do it together. If it goes, if not, we'll come back tomorrow. Amalei Papa Labai the Rabba Shushechitchato B'Knas the Migdal Mishalem Masisnik. The Gemara said yesterday we're backing up, and the Gemara had answer to explain the kasha which we've gone for like a week that Amish has to pay knas of 50 pieces of silver, and it says even if it's chavi creases, no difference if the woman he's allowed to have relations with. It's a woman that's it's a woman who's a chavi creases. Even chavi creases he has to pay. And the kasha had been for a couple of days already that the Mishnah in Makkah says that he's chayiv malchus. He's a chayiv malchus for a chayiv creases. So how can you go together? And look, I'm not going to be both of these things together. For this we had a couple of tirusim. One of the tirusim was that the come later the rabbi. Maybe I got one now. We bought rabbi. That was for something else. I'm a little bit off. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe this is the introduction now. But we had the case of come later the rabbi. I see that I'm getting lost over here. So if it's okay, we would start. I'll come tomorrow back to this Gemara again. Okay, for letting it off on this note, but. We stopped where at up to today. Okay. Again, it's not again. Lamed Ahmed base. Okay. Transfer here?
Yes, thank you very much.
Doctor.
Thank you very much. Call too.
Thank you. He's supposed to arrive tomorrow. Okay. Have a good flight, Dr. Fine.